Hey everybody, this is Robot from Vespa Motorsport and Scooter West here in San Diego, California. If you're looking for parts for your new or used Vespa or vintage Vespa, check us out on scooterwest.com. Today I'm going to change the lock tumbler on a modern Vespa. I'm not going to show you how to steal it. I'm just going to show you how to pull the lock tumbler out. The tumbler is the device that keys up to or is keyed to the key that it matches. If you have a new lock set, you typically get 2 keys and 1 or 2 tumblers, sometimes for this, 1 for the seat, and most importantly, 1 for the ignition. I'm going to show how to change the tumbler on pretty much all modern Vespas, starting from 1996 all the way up to the current models. I haven't ever changed it. It's pretty much the same technique, and this is for a scooter that does not have the column locked. If the column locked, it's a much more involved task. And that's essentially, I'd be showing how to steal a scooter at that point. Because if you have the column lock and you lost all your keys, I'm sorry, you need to take it to a dealer. I'm not going to show you how to do it, but or you're a thief and you probably stole somebody's Vespa, shame on you. But I'm going to show how to remove the tumbler. If you leave it in the unlocked position, that's when the key slot, this key slot right here, is at the 12 o'clock position. You have no keys or you just lost them, maybe you, whatever reason, maybe you need to change it out. And there's a lot more to it. If you watch some of my previous ones, these keys are coded. They do have a chip in them for most of the Vespas. The 50cc's never do, but most of the larger size Vespas, they do have a electronic immobilizer chip in there. That needs additional programming in addition to the tumbler. So if you just replace the tumbler with a new lock set, the scooter's probably not going to start. You're going to need a key service to either reprogram the CDI box or the fuel injection controller, depending on what kind of model you have. So typically a black box that looks like this, or it could be the throttle body on the intake manifold that contains both the computer and the throttle body that controls the fuel. I'll do another video on the locations of all those at some other point. But today it's just changing out the tumbler. Let's get right to it. All right, I'm not going to show how to remove the glove box. If you have an LX, an ET4, that's like 5 or 7 screws. The Primaveras and Sprints are a little more complicated. Same with the GTS one. Go look at my other videos. I have plenty of videos out there on removing the glove box. Just you could search for removing bodywork or installing a light kit on a GTS. Shows all the steps to remove the glove box to get it to the point where you have the ignition exposed. So let me go over the components quickly. This is the Immobilizer antenna. Depending on what model, sometimes they have a different style Immobilizer antenna. It's clipped to this lock housing right here, which is the thing underneath. You remove the Immobilizer housing by just lifting up one of those plastic tabs and then moving on to the next tab and just kind of carefully pry it off. Make sure all those tabs are in place. If you break them off, you're going to have problems. At the very back of the switch is the electrical switch. We're not going to mess with that because there's no need to mess with it. I may need to replace it if there's problems. So at this point, the lock is at the 12 o'clock position. This is the window that retains the clip that holds the lock tumbler and the lock ring housing in place. So it's spring loaded because there's the mechanism that opens your glove box on all these new Vespas. You want to take picks, you know, if you have a pick set, not like for picking locks, but mechanics picks. And I'm slightly holding this open, and you just get the pick in that little window and start lifting the clip. Do not pull the clip all the way out, because once you pull the clip all the way out, it's very difficult to get back in place. So we'll carefully lift the clip until you just lift it enough until it releases the cylinder. You know, this whole entire lock assembly. So we have the lock tumbler and the lock ring housing separated. There's a new key for the new master that we're gonna put on the scooter, the master key that is. Go into that in another video, the Immobilizer systems in detail. I've covered it several times in the past. If you look it up on YouTube, the new key doesn't do anything. So we're going to get rid of the old tumbler that doesn't really match this key. The way you do that is just give it a tap on a table, and it overcomes this little plastic gasket. There's like a nylon gasket that seals up against there, and you can pull the tumbler right out. And we know that's the incorrect key because when you put that in, you can see the wafers just randomly popping out in different areas. So we'll take the tumbler that does match this key and go ahead and insert the key. You know that's the correct one because it's perfectly smooth all the way around. All the tumblers are lined up. We'll put a really light coat of grease on this. You know, just real light. You don't need to put that much. Also on where the little clip engages into that groove. And with the key in there, and stick it in at the off position or 12 o'clock position. And pull the key back out. We could check to make sure it works. Turns perfectly free, no problems there. And next we'll go ahead and reinstall the tumbler. So with this lock ring, you can see the little slot below the flat. It lines up with the slot that's in this cast in, or this steel part that's on the frame. So go ahead and kind of feel your way around, and sometimes the key will want to pop out. Hold a little pressure on it. We know that's working because it's turning. I don't want to turn it or dislocate that clip. And now you could pop the clip back into place. And again, if you took the clip all the way out, have fun. A lot of work, you gotta get the clip back in, but sometimes you just need to get a new clip. You end up bending the clip too much. In the description, I'll put the part numbers for the typical Vespa lock set, this lock ring, and the clips that are typically needed. Very common parts. Fortunately, they've made very few changes to this over all the years. Just make sure the clip is all the way seated. Now it turns just fine. Make sure the whole tumbler doesn't come out. See, now that's locked in place, that's staying in place. Then go ahead and you can check the lock if you have the steering turned to the far left. And there's the reason why you cannot easily pull this tumbler out if it's locked. You do not have access to that clip. The clip is buried way behind there. I'm not going to go into how to change that tumbler at this point when you have it locked, but it's certainly a heck of a lot more work. But if it's in the off position, this is where you can remove the clip for the tumbler. On position, no. But on position, you have the key because the key is stuck in the ignition. And don't forget to put the immobilizer ring in. And again, I'll repeat myself once again. Just because you change the tumblers, the lock set, doesn't mean the scooter is going to work. You're going to need the programming from a master key that was originally coded to your ECU, or you're going to need a brand new ECU with a new lock set, the program freshened version. Or you could send all the stuff to us and we could certainly do the programming for you. So also one thing to keep in mind, don't forget that there's also a seat tumbler. If you have an LX or an ET4, once you get the seat open, obviously by like by hooking this clip, this hook here and popping open the seat is very difficult on these Primavera 50s. I'll just tell you, SOL, you're going to be breaking things to get underneath this seat. There's a clip that retains the lock tumbler just like with ignition. It's more of a large Omega clip. With these Primavera 50s, you're going to need to take apart the seat. LX and ET4, they got a clip right there. Very simple to do, especially in comparison to the ignition lock. Pretty much that's what you need to know if you need to change out your ignition lock on a Vespa. Whether you're a seasoned mechanic and you have no idea how to do it on these Vespas, they're certainly very unique compared to the ignition found on many other scooter brands, Japanese makes, where you bolt the whole entire ignition to the fork. The Vespas have it very different. It's very elegant, it works good, but you got to know the quirks of how to work with it. Or maybe you just lost the keys and you need to change out your locks. Like I said, I'm not showing you how to steal the bike. If you have a locked bike, if you lost your bike with it in the off position, parking out in the street without it locked, I'm sorry, I don't know why you're doing that. You need a lock to call them. But that pretty much sums up how you change out the lock tumblers on any modern Vespa, starting with the ET range in 1996 all the way up to 2005 through the LX, GT, GTS, the 300, 300 Supers, GTV, Sprint, Primavera, pretty much all those, and many of the Piaggio products as well. It's a similar setup. You just need to remove the glove box, gain access to the full tumbler. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. It helps us out. We're one of the #1 channels on YouTube as of 2020. Vespa Motorsport. And our shop is scooterwest.com for all parts. We got you covered. We keep everything in stock. Look in the description for the parts that you need to change out your locks, including some of the parts I would recommend having on hand if you're going to do this job. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell to get notified of all the new videos, mostly Vespa related videos. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, Vespa Motorsport. Until next time, it's the robot here.